A borrower can have a $5 million net worth, own several properties, and still be declined for a construction loan. That can be difficult to understand. The borrower looks at everything they own and says, "How can the lender possibly think I'm not financially strong enough?" But the lender is asking a different question. Not just, "What are you worth?" but "How much cash can you access when the project runs into trouble?" Today, we're explaining why that difference matters. I'm Marc Renz, and this is the Real Estate Capital Desk, where we explain how construction and development financing actually works. Net worth is generally the value of everything you own, minus everything you owe. It includes your real estate, businesses, and investments. Liquidity is different. It is money you can access quickly, cash, money market funds, and marketable investments. A borrower may have a strong net worth but very little liquidity. That is often described as being asset-rich and cash-poor. Why do lenders care? Because construction projects rarely move in a perfectly straight line. Permits take longer and prices change. Subcontractors discover extra work. Inspections delay draws, and sometimes expenses must be paid before the lender releases the next advance. When that happens, someone has to keep the project moving. The lender wants to know the sponsor has enough accessible capital to solve problems. Real estate equity may demonstrate financial strength, but equity in a property cannot usually pay a subcontractor tomorrow morning. Consider a borrower with a $5 million net worth. That sounds strong, but let's look more closely at the numbers. The borrower has $4.4 million in real estate, $400,000 in retirement, and only $200,000 in cash. On a $6 million project, a 10% cost increase is a $600,000 problem. The borrower only has $200,000 available. The lender has to ask, where will the other $400,000 come from? Can they sell a property quickly? Will an investor step in? If there is no clear answer, the lender may decline the request or require more cash before closing to bridge that gap. Cash is easy, but other assets like stocks, retirement accounts, or lines of credit are treated differently depending on the lender. The key question is not whether an asset has value. It's how quickly and reliably that value can be turned into money for the project. How much liquidity is enough? It depends on the project size, your equity contribution, the timeline, and the lender's specific guidelines. What matters is identifying the requirement before the deal is submitted, not discovering it after weeks of underwriting. If liquidity is the weakness, there are ways to improve it. You might bring in a partner or reduce the project size. You could establish a credit line or sell assets in advance, but the solution must be real, not just a number on a statement. The bigger lesson, net worth shows financial strength. Liquidity protects the project when things go wrong. Both are critical. Lenders often prefer lower net worth with higher liquidity. Why? Because construction problems are solved with cash, not equity. Before you submit, ask, how much of my worth is actually liquid? Could I cover a cost delay? Are these funds clearly documented? A strong net worth is valuable, but it doesn't make a project financeable on its own. And before we go, maybe you noticed, the Marc you've been watching is an AI avatar. The real Marc and his team develop and review every script to bring you useful information. I'm Marc Renz, and this is the Real Estate Capital Desk. Subscribe for practical guidance and leave your questions in the comments.